Shine. WTIM.
Welcome to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm Avery Cooper. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark, and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. You can find those streams online on the TaylorvilleDailyNews.com Facebook or on YouTube at WTIM TV. I have hearing instrument specialist Crystal Baker. She is a hearing instrument specialist and licensed practical nurse and the owner of Specialized Hearing Solutions in Taylorville and Shelbyville. She's born and raised in Taylorville and currently resides here with her husband, Jim, and their dog, Cabela. Jim has been a police officer for many years and is currently the chief deputy for the Christian County Sheriff's Office. It's great to have you here, Crystal. One more time. Sorry, I didn't have the buttons pressed.
Thank you, Avery. Happy to be here.
That's my flub. All right. So tell me a little bit about your background and what made you want to specialize in hearing care.
So my background first started in the nursing field, which is a lot of taking care of people and a lot of education. With doing that, I first started out as a CNA, later becoming a licensed practical nurse. So I had both experience in a nursing home environment or a facility environment, assisted living, as well as an office aspect. And in both of those aspects, I saw where not being able to hear or understand what was going on in your daily life and your care could really affect a patient's quality of life. So it just really got me intrigued to look into the hearing healthcare world, where also I had some family members that were hearing specialists as well. So I chose to follow them for a couple of weeks just to see if it was something I would find interesting and get into. And I actually fell in love with it. I had my grandpa struggled with hearing loss for many years. He's a veteran. So just being able to have him as a patient throughout my career has been really nice too. And really being able to improve people's quality of life.
Having a war veteran too, in my experience, for a grandparent, oftentimes you have to speak a little louder. You have to do stuff just a little bit more slow when you're speaking to them. How did that experience growing up around your grandfather, do you think that influenced you to become what you are now?
There's so many things when you don't know a lot about hearing that you would do. A lot of people I find are speaking really loudly, hoping that someone is going to hear them. But when I got more educated in hearing loss, and is what I try to do for family members, is talking loudly to someone is not actually going to help them understand you better. So I learned a lot of tips like slowing down when you're speaking, being more direct, and enunciating your words are actually better than speaking up really loudly for someone.
Wow. So I'm sure that really helped you kind of down the road too.
Down the road,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, obviously, let's see. First off, how long were you practicing before you decided to start your own business?
I have been practicing since 2014 in hearing healthcare, and I started my own business on the side in 2020 in June.
Oh, wow.
So quite a while.
Yeah. And, well, we don't have to go into what that time entailed, but must have been tough too during the middle of 2020 to start your own business.
Absolutely. That's why I started it slow and kind of on the side. I still had my main job working under someone else and just getting my feet wet in what a business for myself would look like. I wanted to really get established before I went fully on my own.
Where were you practicing before, or rather during, while you were ramping up your own business? Where were you located?
So first in 2014, I started actually here in town for a business, and I worked there until 2018 with Audibel here in Taylorville. In 2018, I decided to make a move, and I had been in Peoria working for another company, Beltone, from 2018 until actually May of this year is when I fully decided to cut that loose and give full throttle into my own business.
So I guess why? That's the big question, right? Why?
Absolutely. So working for other companies is great, but there's guidelines and limitations that kind of hold back the care that I wanted to provide. Working for someone else, the main goal is always making a sale for that company. And for me, helping people with their hearing loss is not about a sale or a cost of a hearing aid. I want to be able to provide the quality of care for someone at an affordable cost the way that I want to, without that overhead of someone pressuring me to make a sale. So it was really important for me to be able to open a business on my own to provide that for my community.
I think I just wanted to kind of highlight that part because I think a lot of this happens at a lot of specialties too, not just hearing, where there's a practice, you're hired to work for the practice, and you kind of just got to follow the rules because
Right.
that's your job. I guess I think a lot of people, including myself, don't really realize just how often that happens. Is that pretty prevalent in not just hearing, but I don't want you to speak outside of it, but in your experience, how prevalent was that?
I think it's huge. And now I worked for 2 different places, and those 2 different owners were very different. I just have come to find a lot of people look at hearing aids and hearing aid sales kind of like someone's trying to sell you a vehicle
I
or
hear
a
you.
car. And I don't want it to be that way. And I don't know how it got off track to be that way. And working under someone else, I sometimes felt like I couldn't control the situation when someone was feeling the pressure of being mailed multiple times a week to buy a hearing aid, or being advertising all the time in terms of letters and sales and things like that. So I just want to go about things differently.
And the reason I ask that, I have a little bit of background knowledge, not in hearing, but in veterinary care. My girlfriend is a clinic technician. And I mean, the veterinarians at times, depending on the veterinarian, can, push to sell a certain type of food or,
Mhm.
a certain type of medication. Um, and she, because of that, wants to own her own practice for the very same reason you
Absolutely.
mentioned, because she wants to be able to do what's best for the patient.
Absolutely. I think it's huge for a lot of different industries.
Yeah, and that seems like to really be your motivator to do what's best for the patient.
Yes, the quality of care is top notch for me, and that's what's most important.
Um, I know you divulged a little bit into your grandfather and how that's influenced you, but do you have any other hearing stories that stand out that really made you want to follow this as a career?
Yeah, so really it was when I got into it, my first week of being licensed, that fresh in the office on your own. I had a patient come in, and she was with her daughter and her granddaughter. And she came in, and she really couldn't communicate with me at all. So I was getting information from the daughter, that she'd started kind of isolating herself, seeing signs of depression. The family wasn't able to communicate with her. And I could see that because I wasn't able to communicate with her. So I performed a hearing test on her, saw that she had a very significant loss. And it was one of those situations where I wasn't sure, am I going to be able to provide her with help or am I not? So it was one of those things, let's try and see what happens. So about a week later, they all came back into my office, and I was able to put the hearing aids on this patient. And her granddaughter spoke to her, and her eyes lit up. And immediately, everyone in the room, including myself, was brought to tears. Over the next few weeks, I would meet with her pretty regularly, and the change in her quality of life that her family was telling me about was just unreal. She was back to being able to communicate with everyone, attending things that she used to enjoy. And that just brought so much happiness to my heart that I knew this was my purpose. My purpose is to help take care of people, and this is the way I need to do it.
I don't mean to characterize it for you, but it sounds like it was a pretty emotional moment, not just
Absolutely.
for the patient and her family, but also for you to
Yeah.
you discovered a breakthrough. What can you characterize that, how that felt?
For me, it's just you find your purpose in a moment like that. And I truly believe what I'm doing is my purpose.
Well said. I want to continue to talk about everything that you're doing with your new business. That is the owner of Specialized Hearing Solutions in Taylorville and Shelbyville. I forgot to mention Shelbyville the first time. That is Crystal Baker. We'll talk a little bit more about your location and all that other stuff in Taylorville and Shelbyville, as well as what you can expect at home when you book an appointment with Crystal Baker, the hearing instrument specialist and licensed practical nurse. More from her after this short break. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark, and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first.
WTIM. Our patients deserve the best care. You deserve the best employer. Make an impact in the lives of patients at any of our Memorial Care locations. Our LPNs typically have traditional Monday through Friday working hours in a clinic setting with limited on-call and weekends. Sign-on bonuses up to $5,000. Newly increased pay rates and education assistance are available for all Memorial Care LPN positions. Become a critical part of the Memorial Patient Care Team. Visit jobs.memorial.health to apply. Memorial is an equal opportunity employer.
Rolling Meadows Senior Living in Taylorville invites you to make their home your home. Become part of the Rolling Meadows family. Applications for residency are now being accepted. Rolling Meadows offers seniors 62 and older a smoke-free facility with round-the-clock maintenance, controlled access, large kitchens with full-size appliances, on-site laundry facilities, complimentary Wi-Fi in common areas, and more. Call 217-287-2450 to schedule an appointment. Rolling Meadows is sponsored by Lutheran Social Services of Illinois and funded through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and Federal Home Bank of Chicago. Rolling Meadows is an equal housing opportunity provider.
Taylorville Care Center, Taylorville's premier nursing facility, is hiring, and they're offering the best opportunities in town with new wages, elite pay, and premium pay programs for RNs, LPNs, and CNAs. Nurses may be eligible for major medical insurance if qualified as a level 2 nurse. Their exclusive work perks has something for all employees. Quarterly retention bonuses and weekly vaccination incentives are also offered. Apply to learn more. Join the Taylorville Care Center family by finding their ad on Indeed.com. Taylorville Care Center, caring for the community for nearly 50 years.
CBS Sports Radio.
The many platforms of News Talk WTIM keep you up to date on the latest sports scores, sports interviews, and your calls on CBS Sports Radio overnights and weekends. From professional to college, from the latest drafts to the latest deals, plus all the scores every hour, CBS Sports Radio keeps you in the know on the air and online on the many platforms of the News Talk WTIM network. Tune in or click through for CBS Sports Radio overnights and weekends on News Talk WTIM.
And yet another major brand just announced it's halting all social media advertising.
The two most overused and abused words in advertising are truth and trust. They are the two most precious commodities for all brands, big and small. As an advertiser, you have to trust your partners to protect your brand's truth using the media consumers trust. Radio, it's on.
Trust the Miller Media Group to deliver your message. C&B Bank and Trust is helping to open doors for your wealth. Schedule your appointment with Victor Henson by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. Not FDIC insured, no bank guarantee, may lose value.
I am Bob Raddings of the Bob Raddings family of dealerships. See our huge inventory of about 2,000 vehicles by clicking on our ad at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Station, WTIM.
Welcome to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm Avery Cooper. Glad to have you along. Your stream brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. Crystal Baker is a hearing and instrument specialist and licensed practical nurse, and the owner of Specialized Hearing Solutions in Taylorville and Shelbyville. It's great to have you here, Crystal.
Thank you, Avery.
So we talked a little bit about your backstory, your new business, what made you want to open the business, and some great anecdotes and stories about the difference you've made in some patients' lives. But now I kind of want to get into the specifics of what you do when you make an appointment. What will a patient experience? Like, how does it go from the time they make the appointment to the end of the appointment?
Okay. So first thing a patient needs to do, or family members, is recognize and accept the fact that they may need help. So you'd pick up the phone, dial my phone number, 217-824-0411, and you're going to get me on the other line. I'm the only one in the business, so I handle it from the beginning until the end for the patient. We're going to set an appointment. I get the patient in as soon as I can. When you enter my office, it's a very relaxed environment. I'm going to offer you a cup of coffee, and you're going to fill out some basic background paperwork. We're going to start the appointment off by going over some medical history, asking you a few questions. I will take a look in your ear, and what I'm looking for is no buildup of ear wax, and also that you have a healthy eardrum. And what's pretty cool is I do that with a video otoscope, so you're going to see exactly what I am seeing inside of your ear.
Oh, that's really cool. I love when doctors do that.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Some people like it, and some people don't want to look.
I understand. Yeah.
After that, I put you inside of a booth. I insert headphones into your ears because they give the most accurate results. And you're simply going to press a button every time you hear a different beep or a tone. I do some testing on your ability to understand speech, do testing to see how well you're hearing from your bone as well through your inner ear, and that all gets recorded on something called an audiogram. when I'm finished with all of that, I bring you out into another office and go over that audiogram completely with you. I just don't want to tell you you have a hearing loss. I want to explain to you what your hearing loss is and what that would mean for you and your family members. So we go over that in detail and a lot of education. After that, if the patient wants to, then we'll go over some options that they may have in order to better their hearing. So different hearing aids, different range of costs, different technology levels. If we decide to move forward with something, then I order a set of hearing aids, or I might have some in the office to go ahead and fit you with. After I fit a patient with a set of hearing aids, I don't just send you out the door to figure it out all on your own. I'm going to do several follow-up appointments with that patient over the next several weeks, just to make sure that everything is going okay and working up to the prescription, because right out the gate, it's not going to be a perfect volume level for them. So we want to slowly adjust their brain to it over a few weeks.
You seem to have a pretty big focus on not only the patient, obviously that's your number one goal, but also how this impacts their family too.
Yes, I think family involvement is a very big deal for a patient, because when I see someone come in with no family or no one there to find out what their hearing loss looks like or what that means, then the patient may be having a better outcome, but the family doesn't know how to change the way they're talking to that person, or to help them maybe care for their hearing aids, or help make sure they're wearing their hearing aids, or that they're cleaned. So I really enjoy having the family member or someone there to help that patient along the way as well.
Let's back up a moment. You said the number one step that a patient has to have or go through is to accept the fact that they have hearing loss.
Absolutely.
Right. I'm sure sometimes that's easier said than done. So what kind of advice would you give to those family members who are trying to tell their parent or their grandparent, hey, I think you might need to go get that hearing checked out, without trying to be rude, obviously?
Yes, absolutely. So I see this a lot. And sometimes the family is the person who gets the patient in the door, and the patient doesn't fully accept it until we're done with the test and the education. So for family, I think the best thing to do would maybe come to the appointment with them so they feel a little bit more comfortable to walk in the door. Say, we've started recognizing a few things, like maybe your TV is turned up a little bit louder, or, mom or dad, it's getting harder to have a phone conversation with you. So let's maybe make an appointment with a hearing specialist, Crystal Baker, in Taylorville or Shelbyville, so that she can do a free hearing test on you and see if there is an issue or if there's not.
You mentioned it too. It's free. The test is.
It's absolutely free every time. I don't want to hold anyone back from finding out if they have an issue. So that appointment is free.
And if you do find a problem there, then you'll go through the proper billing and et cetera channels.
So the only cost that you accrue with an appointment in my office would be typically the cost of your hearing aids. Now, if we go through insurance or other avenues, because I am a provider with several insurance companies, United Healthcare, Aetna, Health Alliance, True Hearing, which Blue Cross Blue Shield, there might be a different route that we have to take. And with those, I never have an appointment cost over $25. But most of the time, if you buy hearing aids directly through me, or insurance covers all of your appointments, then you accrue no other cost other than that.
Well, I know you have to go, so tell me about your location, addresses, your phone number, and how people can get in touch with you and all that good stuff. And also, do you have any other special offers going on?
So my location in Shelbyville is 215 East Main Street. My location in Taylorville is 301 South Webster, right next door to the sheriff's office. My phone number is 217-824-0411. And you can find me on Facebook at Specialized Hearing Solutions, where you can find many reviews and testimonials from my patients. When it comes to special offers for me, I try to do everything different. So every time you walk in my door, you are getting the best possible cost and the best possible care every time.
That is hearing instrument specialist and owner of Specialized Hearing Solutions in Taylorville, Crystal Baker. Thank you so much for coming on, Crystal. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Your stream brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. You can find those streams online on the TaylorvilleDailyNews.com Facebook, or on YouTube at WTIM TV.
WTIM.